Bismillah.
Bismillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyid al-Mursaleen amma ba'd fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem bismillahir rahmanir rahim inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala an-nabi ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Mawlana Muhammad barik wa salli alayhi. After praising God Almighty and sending salutations upon the Messenger of Allah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, my dear respected viewers and guests who have joined us already. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you very much for joining us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you all. Thank you very much, my dear respected guests. You're on time and you've joined us already. Thanks a lot for that. And our viewers as well. Thank you very much for once again listening to Meme Mother YouTube channel. Once again, we brought you another topic. Well, it's extension of the last topic, which 2-3 weeks ago we had a knife crime topic and community against knife crime. So basically, after the recommendations and the requests from the community, we did another program in the same topic. Meme Mother does various charity work. As you know, we've got 2 medical centers in Pakistan. We do youth work in Pakistan as well, and try to build a volunteer kind of environment, volunteering type of environment. We do the same in UK as well. We do events with youth and also with various charities, including Deep Community Association, MSK Official, and other charities as well, PMF. Wherever there's opportunity, we try to do our bit. So once again, thank you very much for joining Meme Mother Welfare Team. And this program has been brought to you with the cooperation and assistance of Deep Community Association, MSKA Official, and Meme Mother. So before we start our program, we do have programs every fortnight, and our program starts with the recitation of the Holy Quran in the form of a prayer, and then thereafter we will start our program, and a brief introduction will start, and hopefully that way the other guests will join us shortly. Bismillah ar-Rahman. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Ameen. Translation of this first chapter, the first chapter of the Holy Quran, which is titled as Surah Al-Fatiha, which means the opening. Translation goes that all praise is for God Almighty, the Lord of all the worlds. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, He is the most kind, the ever merciful. Maliki Yawmiddin, He is the master of the day of judgment. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in, You alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, Guide us upon the straight path. Sirat al-ladhina an'amta alayhim, The path of those whom you have favored. غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Ameen. Not of those who have earned your anger or gone astray. So I've chosen this first verse of the first chapter of the Holy Quran, which is titled as the victory or the opening. And why I chose this, the foremost, that we are praising God Almighty, and then thereafter it highlights the most beautiful qualities of God. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the most kind and the most ever merciful. Now, recently I was listening to our brother Byron on a talk, and he was highlighting that it seems that mercy, and it was another scholar as well on the same talk, and it's highlighting passion, compassion has basically has gone to a low level. It's to a level where it's low, and we need to reach out and bring the compassion and mercy from everyone. And that's the message of the Holy Quran here as well, that God is the most merciful and the most gracious. And all faiths will promote this idea of God. And even if those who do not follow a faith, they believe that it is a quality of mankind to have mercy and have compassionate. Then, Master of Day of Judgment, obviously those who believe in God and the faith, then they know that they have to be accountable. And if you feel, even if you don't believe in a religion, even if you believe in whatever you want to believe in just humanity, there is always some kind of accountability we have to give, not just to our parents or our community, but to ourselves as well. And then here that we say that we alone ask you, worship you, and we alone ask you for help. That is also highlighted that at some point, Byron, again, I've taken this from your Twitter, that again, that, you know, at some point of life, everyone needs help. Doesn't matter what background you come from. And we seek God for his help. And we seek each other amongst us as humanity to help each other. And of course, we worship God Almighty alone. And then this is the most important part, which I feel we are trying to all achieve. The ihdina sirat al-mustaqim, that guide us upon the straight path. That we're asking God Almighty to guide us on the straight path. And sirat al-ladina anamta alayhim, the path of those who have earned your favor. And that's telling us the importance of good company. If we have good company, then hopefully we will be guided on the straight path. And we seek protection from bad company. Not those who earned your anger or have gone astray. So this was like a form of prayer that we always open our program with, a form of prayer, and to seek blessings. So I know, Byron, you know, the Arabic side, you always translate it anyway, but if you look at it, it gives a good message. So that's why I thought I'll start with this. Thereafter, once again, I thank you all to join our event. Today's event is not about speeches. Today's event is about a discussion. We had speeches last time. We had many speeches in various other programs as well. But now we want to basically talk a discussion and see what is the solution for this crime. That's why we titled it, you know, community talk. Stop knife crime, a community talk. And that's why we got local community members who have joined us, and various youth workers, voluntary charity organizers, and a respected scholar will be joining us as well. And so basically, it's like a discussion amongst all walk of life. So as Byron had joined us at the start, and let me just quickly introduce Byron. Byron Hayton is basically the founder of the JJ Effect, and he tragically lost his beloved brother, John Joe, a few years back in a knife crime. And it was a tremendous and evil act of knife crime that shook any death will shake the community, but that especially shook the community because the way it happened and the amount of injuries John Joe suffered. And basically what Biden's done is taken from that tragedy and turned it to a positive, and basically has brought some work into the community. And this is solution. So, I mean, Biden, you explained your work previously as well, and now I think the amount of exposure you have been given, that is a blessing from all communities, and they all recognize your hard work. But the next step is this, that Biden, of course, you are doing tremendous work with your youth club. But the question here was asked that do you still feel there is a more need, and is your youth club full to the capacity that now you need to look elsewhere, or others need to join to open up more youth clubs or youth activities? So that's the first question to yourself, Byron. Can everyone hear,
Can
Byron?
anybody hear? I cannot hear.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, you can hear me now.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what we're going on there. Yeah, no worries. I'll start again then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we were just talking about the introduction of the last program, Byron. Yeah. And basically, I would like you to elaborate a little bit, because you're doing the work. Fantastic work is happening.
Yeah.
You've got a youth club set up. However, do you feel that there is a more need now than, to others to join? So then as I understand from your last talk, I felt that, you reached your youth club capacity to the top. In fact, you have turned some people away. So what do you think is the answer to that?
Well, I've said this since day one. I've been doing this a while now, and
Yes.
then it's people who I've worked with, like like people who or I used to look up to, who have told me that I need to dream bigger, and that's just the way I've been, running the JJFX. Is dream big. The bigger we can get, the more people we can help. So yeah, the JJFX is well established now as one of the most powerful talks in the UK. And I think it was Omar that actually said, my persistence in my line of work is what has got us to where we are today. So when we opened the youth club, it must have been 4, maybe 5 hours, we were full. That's how quick people was asking me to help and support their families and their young ones. So yeah, we are at capacity, but at the end of the day, my goal is to dream big, and I've said this, and I've said it time and time again for a long time, that I will be running. I give everyone my word. I will be running Preston's biggest, most successful youth club, and we're going to show people around the country how it should be done. Preston is going to set the standards, and I'm not going to stop until I reach that goal. But I'm not going to get there with the current space that I have. I'm not going to get there funding it by myself. Everything in the youth club so far has been donated or has come out of my pocket. I've got members of staff that are ready to work. We're all, we're firing on all cylinders. We're ready to help as many people as possible. But the dream is to have a much bigger setting for the JJFX Youth Club, so we can take on countless amounts of new people. I think the next step is I'm in talks at the moment with the amazing Omar, and we're going to see what we can come up with, because I am just one person, and I seem to be doing 20 things at a time now. I'm working 7 days a week to try and help as many people as possible. But to get to that next level, I think things like this, and now everyone's starting to take note of my work, I see no reason why we can't get more people in, make it a 7 days a week thing. It never shuts. We've got to dream big. And I think Preston is going to, I think this year, even with COVID-19, is going to be a big year for change in child protection in Preston.
That's great to hear. Now, there's a question for all the councillors here. We've got respected councillor Hafiz Ismail Box, and also respected councillor Siraz Natta, and respected councillor Zafar Copeland. And basically, this question is like a collective question, and I think if you can all give about 2 minutes on this question. Basically, it says that somebody's forwarded this question. So with this horrific knife crime, what actions have you taken or planning as elected councillors for the ward of the Labour Party? Basically, they're talking about the Deepdale ward. And Frank couldn't join, unfortunately. We tried to get Frank back on, but we lost his connection. But it says to all the other local councillors as well, I understand there has been some fantastic work going on, but if you can reassure the community, especially with these last 2 murders of Salman, and basically within the 2 months there's been 2 murders. right? So basically, and the young and the murderers who committed this crime were also young as well. So what actions have you since taken, and what is your future plans to make sure that there's some new services in the area to address these needs? So if we go with Ismail Bucks first, Councillor Ismail Bucks, so if you can elaborate a bit on this, please.
Yeah, thanks very much, Cameron. Thanks for inviting me to join this event.
You're
Knife crime is a crime that's been around for quite some time.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's related to gangs, drugs, and that's blighted some of the deprived wards in Preston. So Deepdale is one, Fishwick Frenchwood is another one, Avenham is another area. As a council, or as councillors, Zafar will be able to elaborate more on that one. We started a multi-agency approach just before COVID started, and we involved the local secondary schools and primary schools, not just to touch on knife crime, but also poverty and deprivation as well. So it's something on the agenda, obviously. At the moment, obviously, the Conservative government has austerity in place, so funding is at a minimum. We can't support as many activities as probably we would like to as a council. But yeah, it's we have a community safety partnership that looks at all these type of things, and we try and address some of the concerns with our Lancashire Police through the community safety partnership and see what we can do to address some of the issues. Obviously, the young lad who recently got murdered was high on the agenda, so it's brought back some of the focus back onto knife crime, and hopefully we can maybe try and address some of the issues that resulted in this murder.
But just one, just a question, Ismail. Can we? What power do the local councillors have?
Yeah.
You're with your family, we understand.
Our powers are very limited, but we can influence some of the decision making.
Okay.
So with the police, it's got to be a partnership. We can't do anything on our own.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
it's got to
that's
be
great.
a partnership with police and people like our esteemed friend who's starting up this community youth project. So people like that engage together, then we can maybe come to some sort of collective result regarding
Yeah.
knife crime and drugs and all that sort of thing.
So if we go to Councillor Zafar, Councillor Zafar, I know, has been working tirelessly in this field for a while. Before the lockdown as well, I went to where my children go to a school, Moore Park, and Councillor Zafar was chairing a meeting there, the meeting Ishmael is speaking about. And if you can elaborate a bit more of the project, because there was police workers there, Omar Khan was there, youth workers were there as well, and as a councillor, you were chairing it. So what's been happening about that, Councillor Zafar?
Hi, Assalamu alaikum. Thanks, Chair. And hi, Byron. That's second time in a week I saw you at Crime and Disorder.
I know.
Just to follow on from my fellow councillor, Izzy Bax, one of the things that we did when I got elected with my fellow councillors was that we sat down and had a chat as councillors to see what we could do to broaden the whole agenda about knife, drug and health in the Deepdale ward.
Sorry, Councillor. Can I request all others to mute their mics, so then that way there's no feedback from the back, and Councillor Zafar can be heard clearly. Sorry, Councillor. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know which bit you heard, but what we decided as councillors, all four of us, is that we would set up in the Deepdale ward is a multi-agency with all partners across different fields. So health was one of them, crime was another, and drugs was another, and and poverty was another one. So there's a whole agenda that we're addressing in the Deepdale area. prior to COVID happening, we was doing some really wonderful work with counsellors and partners and the community and the voluntary sector, which you was attending. And what we had was that we was really grateful to Moorport High School and the head there, Ben, who let us have that facility, and all the partners were attending, and we were looking at the profile of the whole ward. And drugs and knife crime was one of the biggest things on the agenda. What we did from there, we had 3 subgroups, and knife and drug crime was one of those. And through that, what we did as counsellors, we talked to partners, and we raised about 15,000 to see what work we could do with young people. And as this work was going on, what happened that COVID hit us and everything had to go on hold. That money is still sitting there, and in partnerships, in particular with the BME community and mosques coming on board, all working together as a partner, bringing young people together. We found a venue, and that was Energy, and Preston United was going to be leading on this. But unfortunately, at the moment, we can't do anything. I noticed, I've been tweeting today about Byron's activities, that I know that the compliance is letting the fitness group where you're doing your workshops, Byron, and we're looking at same sort of facility at Energy to see if we can get that doing. So as counsellors, we've actually got that moving. The other thing we're doing is we're working with the police, and we've just put a leaflet together. I've not managed to speak to my fellow counsellors at the moment to get a quote from us all to put into that leaflet so we can distribute. But the other important thing we're doing is that we're talking to the community. That's the biggest thing. I mean, the advantage of my fellow male counsellors is they're in the mosque and they're talking to the wider community. So we're at that stage. We're grassroots, working in partnership, and we're raising funds to be able to work with young people. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Zafar. Is that Sergeant Gemma with us? I think you can't see the full screen. Is it Sergeant Gemma?
I think you've got Rebecca from PNE.
Okay, we haven't got Sergeant. We had a question for Sergeant. Anyway, we'll come back to you, Rebecca, with the same question. But just before we do that, if Councillor Siraz, I know you led some activities in terms of there was cricket, which you took part in cricket activities with one of our community members, Zahur Ahmed, and anything else going with the youth which we can promote during this lockdown? I know it's going to be difficult, but like Councillor Zafar is saying, like Byron, as you know, with the social distancing measures in place, but something's happening. Is there anything which you would like to add to Councillor Zafar's?
Yeah, just to add, my fellow councillors, obviously there's 2 levels on this debate. One is the sort of strategic level, which is where the councillors and PNE and the community groups come in, and, you know, working collectively to try and get the resources to put activities on. So that's the one level that everybody has to work together. The other is actually on the ground. You know, we're talking here as sort of predominantly adults, but at some point, you know, I know Byron's doing his bit, Omar's doing his bit, I do a little bit with our sports club as well. But it's the young people that we need to engage and involve, you know, at their level. And it's not all young people, but certain young people have specific needs and require more support. So I think that's where on the ground we need to actually start engaging with those young people who probably might fall foul of the sort of, you know, knife crime initiative, you know, sort of, you know, problems that we have. And it could be anybody, you know, a victim doesn't have to be those who are mingling with people who have, you know, social issues. So, you know, it's an issue for the whole community. And I think collectively, if we work together, I think we can try and give a positive future for the young people, which is what is really needed. So that, you know, the role models are not the ones that, you know, people who take them down, as you said in your opening speech. You know, it's got to be good role models who people are following rather than those that are probably taking them down the wrong path.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
From our side, just from my side, obviously, as you might be aware, I run you know, I'm involved with sort of youth activities anyway, sports mainly. So we work with a lot of young people, but we might not be attracting those young people who probably need the most support. So it needs a specialist kind of provision to engage with the young people that are probably maybe at most at risk. So I think that's the bit that we need to look at to say, how do we really engage with the young people that we need to engage with? Okay, thanks.
Thank you for that. We got our respected scholar, Sheikh Salim Mohammed, who founded the Iqra Education Center 10-15 years ago. He was the head teacher and now is part of the Noorani Education Center near Fulwood. Sheikh, just a question on this, that obviously relating with the Councillor's offer's question, where the answer she gave was that, they're trying to engage the mosques and faith groups and schools and things like that. So basically, as we understand, there are many scholars, Islamic centers and the faith groups in general trying to do the work. However, do you feel sufficient work is being done by all mosques to educate all children, youth, women, especially on this knife drugs and gang crime, etc.? This is from a sister. So basically, this lady is a bit concerned that the message is not going out from the mosque to the ladies. What do you say to that, Sheikh?
I think in general, more needs to be done. Absolutely agree with that. No one can turn around and say we are doing enough, because there's a lot more to be done in every aspect. And I agree with the sister that there has to be more sisters being involved as well from all the mosques to basically lead and run with that part of the community. But in general, we must all take our responsibilities and play our part in this, because ultimately it will affect us all. So the mosque isn't just a place of worship. Of course it is primarily, but it's also a massive center of the community. And children, youngsters, teenagers need to feel a place of belonging. And if they feel that place of belonging in places such as mosques or organizations like that, then we will be able to have an influence on them, certainly.
Yeah, so just on that as well, Sheikh, as you know, the crime is worsening, the time is changing, and basically in this modern day, and with the time changing and the crime and the challenges we are facing, is the mosque or Islam itself, is it helping and is it moving with the right time? What does Islam?
Well, Islamically, from a religious point, obviously every era will have its challenges, and we address them challenges in every way. It's how that particular community is dealing with it and ensuring that the right representatives are part of that organization. So what we don't want is just a certain part of the community representing that masjid, that mosque, or that community. Has to be every part, and it has to be even people, especially people who have potentially been involved previously and want to make a change. Once and don't judge them, make them involved, because they will have a massive part. I remember many years ago, we started dealing with drug problems, right? I felt that we were quite late on the scene, and I fear that we're not late again. I fear that we're not going to be late again. We have to proactively take a stance on this as soon as we possibly can. And so going back to the question, are they doing enough? I think my answer would be they need to do more.
Definitely. Thank you very much for that, Sheikh. Just going to Rebecca, who is from PNE. She's the head of the community trust, the community part of PNE, basically, and the Community Education Foundation. She's the head of that. And she has just started work in Deepdale with Deepdale Community Association, where she already got 5 families from Deepdale, Romanian background, Pakistani, Gujarati background, and then got other 5 families from different areas, from white background, Polish professionals, and she's got them together. And there's a weekly meeting happening on Zoom, where she's helping to help their needs, especially the children's needs. And these people need help, and generally some have mental health issue as well. So she's got a wide group of people, and she started this project as soon as she came into Preston, originally from Burnley. And Rebecca, thank you very much for joining us. So the question is this, Rebecca, that PNE has had a big presence in the community at the football club. However, what are they offering in their community as to the education trust capacity which you are heading? What is the PNE offering to the local community? And another question that goes with it, somebody else said that the PNE has a big presence with this big stadium, and basically we see loads of parking spaces being taken on every monthly. Unfortunately, due to COVID, that's not the case anymore. But that's been part of us, as me, somebody from Deepdale, all my life. I've seen that growing up. Somebody asked that. Other than that, I've not even seen the inside of what the community work goes on. So, Rebecca, what are you doing at the PNE, and what are with your future vision for that?
Hiya, I'm conscious that my camera's flickering, so I don't know if you guys can hear me properly. I hope it's coming through okay. Yeah, I'm Rebecca. I'm head of community engagement, not head of community before my boss thinks I've stolen his job overnight. Obviously, I work for the community department, and just thank you for having me here. It's nice to be able to represent the community department. We've done a number of things. As Councillor said, unfortunately, coronavirus has meant that we can't do as much as what we would have been doing previously, but we've tried to keep going in terms of the face-to-face stuff with the targeted groups and the vulnerable groups, and keep that going. So, for example, over NCS Autumn, our National Citizen Service Programme, we had Byron in, and he managed to deliver face-to-face to over 215 young people with his talk and kind of target the knife crime stuff. During that, we were very, very lucky to get quite a few groups from the business studies from Preston's College, which meant that a lot of the group were, I think it was about 90% of the group were from the BAME community. An awful lot of them were from Deepdale, which meant that we were targeting that group whilst we were doing that work. I think it's very difficult for a football club that naturally, unfortunately, has 80-85% population white British of people who turn up to the games. That's not something that I advocate. That's not something that I think should be the case, and that's something that I'm hoping we're going to work towards, and we're going to be able to target. Unfortunately, coronavirus is meaning that that's not something we can do at the moment. I've spent quite a few months previously with yourselves, with Omar, with Irfan, trying to discuss Deepdale and what Preston North End brings to the community. And unfortunately, for the past few months, all I've found is the negative aspect, the rubbish, the car park, the fans gathering, and we've got so much more to give than that. We're doing so much more work, and maybe that's our fault for not pushing that out in the right places and not having those conversations in the right places. But that's what I'm hoping, myself being in position, will be able to do. We're making great leaps and bounds over the past few months, like you mentioned, with the Communities United programme and the different families that we're working with. I've been discussing with different people in the community around what we can do around Ramadan, how we can help celebrate that, how we can replicate what we do with the Christmas Helping Hampers campaign, how we can ensure that happens, so that we're saying Eid Mubarak to everyone who's celebrating. So I'm hoping that we are doing the right things. I know myself and Omar and Byron have been having conversations around what can we do targeted work with 15 young people over the next couple of weeks, that we're keeping that ball rolling, particularly after the Sarmad incident, and just making sure that I want to be present, we want to be present, and unfortunately in the past that hasn't necessarily been the case, but fingers crossed moving forward it does start to be the case, and hopefully that is something that we do moving forward.
The key message here is obviously we need to do communication and build awareness of different groups doing different work. Even during COVID, like Byron is doing, targeted group of individuals, basically with the social distancing in place, and we're still doing that work. So the work can continue with, like yourself, Rebecca, we get that Zoom meeting together, and all these, they were very happy. We got very good feedback from the community people who said that, we enjoyed that session. and they're looking forward to Monday's session as well. Thank you very much, Rebecca. We'll come back to you in a minute. There's a few questions, but before I go to Sergeant, we got Sergeant, and we also got Sergeant Gemma, and we also got PCSO Edward, and they are waiting there for us. Hi, okay. Sorry, before we come to you, because I'm conscious of time and Council Zafar needs to go shortly. I came on early as well, so thank you for that. Council Zafar, so what has Rebecca just said about, PNE wants to work, and obviously they've been trying to work with yourself as well, Umar Khan as well, and Deep Dell Community Association. What further advice you can give them? And also, I understand that you want to give a message about COVID as well. I know our topic is knife crime, but tragically around Deep Dell especially, all over the country, all over the world, in fact, many deaths have happened. People have lost loved ones. Just in these 2 weeks around just the counties area, which is just Arga Road and Borough Road and St. Paul's Road, we've had 5 deaths just in 5 days. So basically, Councillor wanted to give a message there as well and offer condolences as well to the families who are listening as well. So Councillor Zafar, if you can offer some advice to Rebecca, how can we work together, and also your COVID message, and then we'll go to Sergeant Gemma.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, condolences to all the families that are passing away, not just in the Deep Dell ward, but across the world and Preston. I don't think it's about me giving advice to Preston Education Community Training Centre. I'm not sure if I've got that right, Rebecca, but I think it's about working in partnership, and it's what that partnership looks like. And I have had a number of meetings with Rebecca and her colleagues with PNE about what does it look like from their point of view working with the BME community, and what can they do to support us, and how can we, in relation to that, work back, get the community to take on board some of their provision, and how can we engage. And that's something that we're working on across board. And what we've said is that, Deep Dell is a multicultural ward, and how are they going to actually go in? And like Rebecca says, there's some initiatives that are going to be starting, but we want to get all the grassroots communities in Deep Dell to be engaging, but we don't know what that looks like. And the reason that we don't know what that looks like is because we've got COVID-19. And so we can't go out there and get everybody. We can't have multi-agency meetings. And we can't, sit down and say, who's got this provision, who's going to do that. So I think going forward for me is that till something lifts in terms of young people and some of the initiatives around, in particular, drug and knife crime, we can do something like that. But I think going forward, it'll be a lot more meetings to say what PNE really can do to engage, because it's in the heart of the ward, and we don't see it engaging with the community. And I'm sure that, Rebecca would acknowledge that. Secondly, in terms of COVID, I think what we were getting feedback from the council itself is that, there's a lot of the community, a cross section of the community, are not doing the 2 metre distancing, or they're not wearing the masks. And how we, as councillors, we are doing walkarounds. Myself and Izzy Bax did one a while ago, just before Christmas or after. I can't remember, Izzy, maybe you can put a light on it. But we are going, and I think we're going to go and do more to reinforce the messages. And it's about the shops in the area. It's about then reinforcing that, wear the mask, 2 metre distancing, because more and more people in the community are passing away. And I think that, at the COVID marshals, I've not seen a lot of those in Deep Dell, lest my colleagues have. I was out yesterday on Avon Park, and just round the cafe, I saw so many COVID marshals just saying that queuing for that cafe, everybody had to be 2 metre distancing. And I think more of that needs to be happening in the ward. And so myself and my fellow councillors will be doing that shortly, and seeing if we can go in the community. And so we're talking all the time. Maybe that yourselves aren't seeing it, but behind the scenes as councillors, we are proactive, and we are trying to engage with the community, and we are saying to the council what provision is there that we can, push that through. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Zafar, for your message as well and your advice. And I know you got to go at 6 o'clock, but I'm sure up to then you can take part. Thank you very much. We're going to Sergeant Gemma now. Sergeant, thank you very much for joining us. The question is that the police interact for a little while after a serious incident, such as knife crime, happens. Once the story is not in the headlines, then there is nothing that they are doing. Why do they not want to, or are they frightened to work with the BAME community? This form of racism, this person saying this form of racism is really death and danger for our youth. What do you say to that, Sergeant?
Okay, so I think
to get you on. Sorry,
just go on.
No, I said it's a bit of a difficult question, but we've got to be honest.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the honesty. Obviously, the more brutal questions, the better, really. Obviously, I don't. I'm personally new to Preston. I've just started this role as neighbourhood sergeant in the last week or so. I'm actually from East Lancashire, so I've generally worked over there. So I'm learning all the responses, kind of Preston-wise, in terms of responses to police and things like that. This is a new community to me, so I'm really looking forward to getting to know everyone. In terms of responding to the question, to be honest, we have got a lot of new processes in place to deal with the public and to kind of respond to these incidents, and that involves a lot of education ourselves, educating officers in kind of dealing with knife crime and the effects of that on the community, especially with the BAME community. So we are working to improve ourselves constantly in terms of that. We've got projects going on with schools, and education in the local area. So officers are being trained in knife crime, responding to knife crime, and delivering that in schools, so we can really get this from a young age and get this education about knife crime and try and keep reducing the number of knife crime in the local area. So just really trying to engage with everyone in terms of that. So it doesn't appear to be such a short-term response, which is obviously what this question is saying, that it seems like we respond for a short while and then kind of stop. That really isn't the case. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that people just don't particularly see, and that is the educating officers. We've got a lot of neighbourhood officers going on, some training over the next couple of weeks to do with knife crime, and then they can attend schools and deliver that themselves. So we have a really personal interaction with young communities and really get in touch with them.
Thank you for that. But just on that question, so you don't feel that there is racism which is affecting this work? It's just the work is happening, but it's not in the picture as much as we would like to see. So you don't feel that there's racism, obstructing this work?
I definitely don't think that comes from a place of racism, not at all. Obviously the work is ongoing behind the scenes, and that's to do with the training and things like that. But I definitely don't think it's from a place of racism. We obviously, Preston's a very diverse area. There's a lot of very diverse communities.
Yeah, thank you for that. Just on that note, what is the police plans, long-term, short plans, to work with the youth of Preston, to engage with them? The question is from Saj, and it's basically, what are your plans to engage with the youth of Preston?
So I originally come from the firearms department. I'm currently just kind of in a temporary role as a neighbourhood sergeant, but my supervision, my sergeant himself, he's come up with a project that's called Choose Life, Not the Knife. He's basically delivering this project throughout schools across Lancashire, not just in Preston. So that's been over the last 12-18 months or so. That's been really coming into effect, and that is the training that I was mentioning, that neighbourhood officers are receiving, so we can really get into local schools. They can meet their local officers, the young people in our communities can meet their local officers, and get to know them, and they deliver this education in terms of knife crime, because obviously a lot of the work we do is around enforcement and not education, and that's something that we're really trying to change. We do the engagement via social media as well. We have our op-edge operation, which is ongoing, and that's the results from that. They get posted on Preston Police's social media. So just really trying to engage with people about the work that we are doing, and then continue with this training and the Choose Life training that's going to be going out in schools. That will be continuing for the foreseeable. And that's obviously why it's being cascaded down. It was, I've delivered that a couple of times in schools with my sergeant, and that is now being, as I say, rolled out to neighbourhood police, so we can go into schools and deliver this training and really engage with the young people.
So we got PCSO Edward there. Thank you for that, Sergeant. Just PCSO Edward, obviously you're on the ground, basically you walked with us. Thank you for that many times around the Deepdale Community Association area, in the Canaries areas. Basically, do you not feel that as just you as the Deepdale PCSO, and Deepdale being a big area, as you explained to us, it covers all the retail park and Larches and all sorts. It goes further. So Larches, Brookfield and stuff. So do you think that's sufficient for yourself to cover?
I mean, it's not just myself that covers the area. There is one other PCSO as well. But as well as that, you've got your CBMs that cover the area. And then you've got the
CBM, sorry. If you can just
community beat manager, so a police officer that also covers the area. But then you've got PCSOs that cover the areas as a wider space. So whether they're there all the time, they're probably not, but they can cover it, when I'm not in or Stacey's not in, who's the other PCSO. So even though Deepdale is a big award, I would say, with the help of different people in the community, it's a good one to get a grips with and to be a part of, because there's so many different people like yourself, and you've got Byron and whatnot, that you can all be a part of the community in a decent way.
We've actually we've got the community beat manager for the area, Lisa McGaffin. She's here at the moment. So hello everyone. She's just popped in to say hi. Obviously there is more than Eddie covering that area. So Lisa's here as well, just to show her face. So yeah, there are more than just Eddie wandering the streets. We all do our bit to chip in.
That's great. Moving on with that question, Byron, obviously you set up your youth club, I think, within 14 days. And I know a lot of groundwork had been done, but within 14 days, you opened a youth club, which is great. The challenges you faced, what were the challenges? And did you get enough support from the councillors and from the police as well?
It was 13 days actually. But challenges, if I'm totally honest with you, pretty much none. As I said to you, if for the people that have met me in person and seen my presentation, I do 20 things that every day I've got 4, 5, 6 little like jobs that lead off onto another job every single day. I've been working all day today as well. So there was no challenges in that because I believe in my work. I feel I didn't get much help though. We had a TV donated from the general public, a couple of little things but literally it was just me, blood, sweat and tears in there, building the walls, making sure we had all the right relevant safety features, lockers, showers, making sure everything was working, setting it up and getting the kids. And I did that with no support, to be fair. So I'm hoping, very, very soon with talks with Omar and all the team at PNE that, with the support. I mean, I said this to Omar myself. I said, if I can do this in 13 days, imagine what I can do with funding and people backing me. And he totally agreed.
So that's great stuff there. But what do you say to that, Councillor Zuffer, and the other councillors that obviously Byron feels that, he didn't get enough support? Maybe he didn't ask, but the thing is, what is the support which you can give Byron now? You just said about there was some funding sitting. Will that help to open another youth club? Can it help to open a youth club? Councillor Zafar, I know we only got a few minutes to leave, so.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. The money that we as councillors raised, that's a particular project that we're going to be doing for young people. But I mean, like I said before to the question, it's all about partnership, and the work that Byron's doing, absolutely fantastic. And it's about pulling together, isn't it, those resources. But unfortunately, as I've already mentioned, that with the difficulty with COVID, it's hard to bring everybody together. So individually, you know, within the COVID-19 safety measures, we are doing pockets of work, but going forward in the future, we're hoping to come together, and especially with Deepdale young people, and do some fantastic work, and coordinate that. But till we can get the COVID lifting, I'm finding it a bit difficult to do that. And I'm sure that if Byron and my other councillors want to come in, that's the difficulty. Thank you, Chair.
I will say in that though that they didn't not help me. I work with Alison Hatton. I've met this wonderful woman only twice now, and she's amazing. And I do believe the help is going to be there. I mean, the JJ effect is known widely, if I'm honest, in Manchester and across the UK. It's just only sadly since the death of the last person that lost his life that everyone's really. Because I've been there all along, everyone's now starting to take note. So I do believe that, as I said before, that 2021 is going to be a big year for child protection in Preston, and working with PNE, Omar already. We aren't even meeting yet, don't forget, like I should have said, you know, we're not taking steps now, we're taking bounds. So big things are going to be coming, and I feel like the support now is going to be there.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we hope you're right, and I'm sure the work which is happening behind the scenes will happen. There's a question here.
Can I just add, Cameron, can I just add? I don't want to make a political point, but I think one of the issues that is problematic is the decimation of the youth service within the county council. That we used to have a lot of youth clubs, youth workers, and obviously there's austerity and finance problems and all sorts of things. But if people want to invest, people will invest money. And you know, I remember growing up, we had youth clubs at the corners where we lived. Now I can't even name you one, probably. You know, maybe the other people can name me some. And it's reliant on voluntary and you know, people to actually try and do things, and that shouldn't be the case, really. We should have professional support from the county council, from the council as well. So and you know, people who are on the ground doing things for voluntary basis, that's all, you know, good. But at the same time, I think we still need to put, and it's our responsibility as councillors to actually try and keep pushing to try and get that professional support as well. So we've got some officers in our city council, and as Byron's mentioned, Alison and some other, you know, Leslie, in terms of, you know, equality and diversity. So we have some professional support, but I think my advice would be, you know, for Byron and others who are doing this work, is basically just tap into the actual professional support that there is, and they will point you to funding sources that there are out there. There are still funding opportunities there. You just need to know where they are, how to put applications in, and you can start building the provision on the ground. If you look at Fishwick Rangers, Preston United, you know, 15, 18 years ago, they both started similar to you, Brian. You know, like just initial, and if you look at them now, they've progressed a lot in sort of, you know, 15, 20 years. So I think, you know, that so long as you get the right expertise support, you know, if the job what you're doing is worthwhile, then it'll grow, as you say. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was going to be a question to. I'll take it to Councillor Ismail. That do you feel that enough? Obviously, the answer is no. Like we all know that, but the questioner is asking that what is your, as a Labour councillors of the ward, basically, any plans to open a youth club, or you know, support a youth club? I know Councillor Zuff has highlighted what the background work is being done, but I mean, if Byron, like he's saying, he can open a youth club, and obviously he's got professionals behind him who support him, like youth workers, and you have to have that. So what can you offer to the community that, you know, to support a youth club? If just say tomorrow there was somebody wanted to open a youth club in a community building, how would he help, or how can he help? Councillor Ismail.
That would be a $64 million question, Kamran.
Right.
As my councillors rightly pointed out to you before, austerity has decimated a lot of the youth provision and community provision from the council's budgets. So councils are at the moment tied with funding, and we have difficulty running our leisure centres. So never mind opening up new community centres, we're trying to get some way to run our own leisure centres and provide some sort of facility for the community to benefit from. So whilst I support Byron's initiative, how much support as a council we can offer obviously depends on how much there is in the pot. And unfortunately, at the moment, there isn't that much, and that is the truth.
No,
yeah, can I come in on there? I agree with what you're saying.
Like Zafar pointed out before, we can only do this through a partnership approach. So everybody dipping into the pot with their own little stuff, and then together maybe we can make it work.
Okay. Sorry, Byron.
I would just say that obviously.
Byron,
obviously.
can I just say?
Oh yeah, go on.
Very much, I've
thank
got
you very
to
much
leave,
for your
but
time,
thank you very
Councillor.
much. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thanks, Zafar.
Yeah, so like I get what you're saying. For a youth club to be successful, I want to imitate in Preston, like the likes of what they've got. Is it in Blackburn where they've got the extremely large youth zone? If any of you have been there before, it's exactly what I want to replicate, but on a bigger scale, so to speak. I mean, for example, if I just put this out there, you know, when we did our first price up to get a youth club like that in Preston, it was like 160 to 190,000 pounds, and that was with the building or not included. I mean, that the building's already there, ready to go. So the funds that we need to have something on that scale to help as many people as possible, even that's a scary number. And you know, unless we start doing bigger things like that, we're going to struggle.
Just to come back on that, Kamran. If you remember, maybe about 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago, we facilitated the idea of having a youth club based on something similar to what Bolton have, and we identified a site. We identified a site for it to be right in the heart of Preston. Unfortunately, due to change of administration, so Labour lost the county seat to the Conservatives. Unfortunately, that funding decision was then out of our hands, and they actually withdrew from that initiative. So there was no more funding. Otherwise, we wanted a big, massive youth zone set up right in this town centre.
Okay. So obviously, you know, I think on the recent program as well, we had Mark Hendricks, the MP, saying the same thing. Basically, the cuts, you know, that's fair enough. Everyone understands that. However, I think there's some suggestions here, which I'll just sum up, basically, conscious of time, that answering every separate question, is that basically, I'm sure, like, you know, Byron, you know, went out and he did some groundwork and he got involved and basically started. And I'm sure the councillors who are just, rather than wait for funding or things like that, I mean, visit, you know, our places. There's mosques, which community centres, which are basically shut due to COVID. And I'm sure we can do target events there. And also there's basically other council buildings which are just shut there, and we get the answer that, oh, you know, it's insurance and this and that. So, you know, can we not look at something which is like much easier? I mean, the big answer, the best answer is a lot of funding and let's get everything done. But something needs to be done on a right now scale. Can you not do anything on that, Councillor Siraz, if you would like to add to that?
Yeah, I think I think there's a lot we can do, and it is possible. Like I said, a lot of the places of worship have halls and community buildings. We also have Moore Park School. Obviously, it's closed at the moment. There's a sports centre there. And basically, so we have the provisions, and even if it on a voluntary basis, if the places of worship, community centres, if they put things on, you know, and get volunteers to help out initially, I think that's the first starting point. A lot of the you know, venues are already doing things for young people. Like if you look at quite a lot of the you know, mosques, they have their own youth sections, you know, they're running sports teams and things. So it is happening at a sort of a local level, sort of not connected probably as much. I know that a lot of the mosques actually connect up and run league in sports as well. So there's things going on the ground. Like I said, Fisherwick Rangers, Preston United have been doing it for about 20 years. Byron's been probably doing for about 5-6 years, I think. You know, sort of various activities. So people are doing their own little bits in different parts.
We need to
What's
unite.
probably connecting up? Some connecting up required. And like I said, there is funding out there. It's not as if there's a scheme, I don't know if Byron you're aware of, it's called the Kickstart scheme, where you can get a young person to be employed up to 25 hours a week. That would be fully funded. So there are, you know, there are government initiatives to actually help organizations to actually deliver on the ground as well. So, but what's required, as you said, at the moment, COVID is impacting a lot in terms of provision. So people can't open up their venues as easily. So I think as councillors, we have a role to play along with others as well to actually talk to some of the community leaders and people who manage these facilities to actually try and say, you know, what are they doing in terms of, you know, work with young people and try and maybe connect up certain individuals as well. As well as looking strategically to what we can do as well. I think what is required, I don't think it's required in football sessions and cricket sessions. What is required is the targeted work with those young people who are totally disengaged. That's the work I think that is required in the coming months and years.
On all fronts, Councillor Sidders, and thank you for that. But I'm going to go to Sheikh Saleem on this one, especially Sheikh. You know, as you've been in the community, you've taught children Islam, and you know, you've done community events as well. You've taken part. You know, back in the days, as you can remember, Iqra, you used to lead in the anti-terrorism, working with the police, things like that. I mean, do you feel the mosques are getting that support from the police and the councillors? And are the mosques tapping into that? You know, is that partnership being built, or there is a need for this?
I think there is a need for it. I agree. And I think that I think it's both parties, if you can call it parties, both parties' responsibility to ensure that we get a common ground and work together. If you think about it, I've not seen many joint held events in mosques that address this. And going back to, I think what Councillor Siraj said, it's those people who have disengaged.
Yeah.
You know, I think we need to really reach out to them some way or another. And it needs to be done as a joint venture to make sure that they feel included. And sometimes these people, there are, you know, certainly certain events that happen at mosque, or certain days, for example, Eid is one of them, you know, and certain programs need to be held specially for that. I do think there is more work need to be done, yes.
Yes, and there's another question for you, Sheikh, and it's for everyone really. That basically, our respected sister from Deepdale said, how do you propose to work with parents, especially the number of Pakistanis, and obviously sisters put Pakistani, but meaning in general, single moms who don't have a link with the mosque. Basically, obviously, in our mosque is generally the male who visit the mosque.
Yeah.
How do they connect to the ladies?
I think what needs to happen, and absolutely critical, which I don't believe is happening or is not happening as much as it should be, is women forming representation in the mosques. Yeah, you're right. Because generally males go to the mosque, the committees consist of men.
Yeah.
And that's about it, to be honest with you. So I think the mosque is part of the whole community, and generally what tends to happen is women programs are held, again, probably organized by men.
Yeah.
Rather than having sufficient representation by women, for women, children, and for everybody. Not just necessarily just for women, for even for what they feel needs to happen. And I think we need to really step up here as a community and organizations. I remember listening to one of the lawyers that was representing the prosecution in the Rochdale grooming case, and he said that I remember his words. He said that there needs to be where 30% have to be women, at least. Part of the community, part of the committee, part of the management committee role, and I think that we at ICRA, if you remember, Brother Kamran, we insisted on that.
That's right. Yeah.
And it was very, very, very successful, because it wasn't that we allowed, and I don't like to use that word, that we allowed the women to have their programs. I think it's wrong. It has to be that. We worked, and they have as much say of what they feel needs to be done. And what the sisters said is that I would like to see more sisters challenging the committees and saying, I actually want a seat on that management board.
Yeah, and want to lead. And
Yes.
that is what's needed. Obviously, the teaching of Islam is that the first school of teaching is the mother. So basically, if the mother is active, then hopefully, basically, we can form a good partnership.
I would say that the mothers are active.
Yeah,
yes,
meaning let them
it's
be
allowed.
active.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just, and I would say the mothers are very active, very supportive in this. But it's a matter of sometimes they feel that they would have to ruffle the feathers to be able to get what I believe is also their right.
Of course. And
definitely. That's where it needs to change.
I think this is the same thing, Rebecca. Obviously, what Byron said about the youth facilities, or of course, our councillor Siraz said about the youth facilities as well, that there are facilities there. And one of the biggest facilities is PNE, which personally, there's no football matches happening. I know there's training happening. I heard the manager won't let no one walk on the grounds of PNE, because damaging the pitch. I understand all that. But what do you feel what can you offer? I mean, Byron's got indoor gym and, facility, which is using as a youth club. Just say they wanted to have a game of football, or, wanted an open ground. At the moment, we don't have that. The best youth club in Preston. It's a start, and we'll get there. But what can you offer from your side as PNE?
I think in terms of offering the building, we're stuck between a bit of a rock and a hard place with coronavirus. We can work with 15 young people going off the National Youth Agency guidance, regardless of whether we're in a 555 square foot building or whether we're in a little room. And I think the difficulty for us, people see this big, amazing building and think we've got all this space and all these facilities. But in actual fact, that's the football club. It's got banqueting suites and it's got bars and things like that. But, we haven't got a jungle gym and a 3G pitch in there. If we had, we'd be using it ourselves. But we actually utilise, we've used SmartFit with Byron, we've utilised Play Football. We've utilised different areas ourselves, and we're actually coming up with the same issues as the community. We've got groups of young people that access our provision continuously through coronavirus because they're part of the vulnerable targeted group. and unfortunately we're having to, you know, find different ways to work with them ourselves. In an ideal world, in 6, 12, however many months and however more lockdowns we've got to go, I would love nothing more than to open the doors of Deepdale and ensure that it's utilised. You know, I've had discussions with yourself, with Irfan, with Omar about how we can use the building as a positive, you know, get the community groups to meet there, get the meetings that you guys are already having be hosted from the football club to build those relationships and build those links. But in terms of the building itself, you know, I think maybe it is a thing that we need to get people on a tour so they can see what we've got, because we actually use external providers and facilities ourselves. Just in terms of what we're doing, there are so many conversations that are going on in the background at the moment. Again, Omar, Byron, Alison Hatton were part of different meetings for the Community Safety Partnership. You know, I genuinely, I'm not from Preston, but I am proud of Preston, and I think you should always be proud of the place that you work in and take huge ownership over it. And I think for the first time, I really feel like we're getting somewhere. And like Byron said, we're not taking steps, we're taking leaps and bounds. We are the furthest as a community group we have ever been. You know, practitioners are engaged, people who are on the ground, who are seeing things firsthand, are saying, I have had enough, this is it now. We have got to do something about this before somebody else loses their life, is part of an attack, becomes a murderer themselves because they've had enough. And, you know, we're moving so far forward at such a pace, but it's just unfortunate that these conversations are taking so much longer because it isn't as easy as what it used to be. You know, can we use that? Can we utilise the gym? Can we use the room at Heartbeat? Can we use that cafe? It's taking time to get the risk assessments in place and you know, to do things that would usually, like Byron said, 13-day turnaround. It's taking us a little bit longer because the conversations are taking longer to get the places that we need to get. I just think from a community aspect, we really are trying, and we're coming up against 1,000,001 brick walls in terms of coronavirus, but we are adamant that this is the time that we make a change. You know, we're not going to stop until knife crime stops, and we're not going to just stop what we're doing. We're really trying, and I think I personally feel, and I hope that the people kind of around the table and around the board agree, that we are sticking together, and the more that we stick together, the more we're likely to access funding, the more we're likely to access provisions, the more we're likely to access buildings. I think we're getting somewhere, and we've just got to keep that ball rolling.
Right, thank you very much. Just going to our respected Sergeant. Sergeant Jebba, questions just come in that with your current strategy and steps, unfortunately, with the current stabbing and incident where a young person jumped off the bridge that just happened on Borough Road. I don't know if you're aware, there was a suicide attempt a month back. Children are smoking weed on the street and dealing drugs in broad daylight. And after this recent loss of life of Sarmad, what changes have you made to your plans to make sure you're targeting all communities? And then adding to that question, this is a similar question that basically, what is the police plan of tackling youth crime? In general, that's not just the knife crime. That's just like in the, so it's related to what are your plans to work with the youth of Preston. So I think you answered that. So best thing is just if you can touch on this one, that everything is failing. What are you trying to do different? Or have you learned? There's another question, that what have you learned from Sarmad's killing? Can you hear me, Sergeant? I think you need to unmute it.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Hi. Sorry, I think we were muted then.
Yeah,
We heard the question.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah. I'm Lisa. I'm the local community officer for the area, so I'm probably a little bit more best placed to answer that question.
Yeah,
Obviously, there's quite a lot of information in that, and you've covered a lot of, you know, points and different crimes in it. So it's a bit hard to kind of answer it very specifically. You know, as I've explained before, I've had many conversations with Zafar about this. We work obviously on a threat and risk basis, and we have to prioritise certain areas of crime and antisocial behaviour based on the types of calls we get in and the amount of calls we get in. And you know, without batting it all the way back, sometimes we have found and faced barriers that people don't always report it to us, and therefore we're not always aware of the incident. And the advice we always give to people is they have to be reporting this to us. If there's a problem with, you know, kids smoking weed on the street, we need to know about it, because if we don't know about it, we can't act upon it, and we can't put resources into certain areas that where it's needed, and these are the problems that people are facing day to day, but we are sometimes unaware of them. So that kind of is to answer that side of things. To be honest, I've forgotten the other parts of the question.
Yeah, no, you're right. Obviously obviously the local issues that we have, like Lisa said, a key message would be speak to us. People often have an idea that we like to kind of ignore what's going on and deal with other things that are going on. But if we have an idea that these things are taking place, we've got our local officers that can come and help and engage with the community. We do have our response officers that might deal with an incident and then move on to the next incident, but that's because that's their job. They are immediate response officers. They respond to emergency incidents or other kind of incidents, but they don't cover a specific area. They might be tasked to kind of Preston as a whole. So they are very much at the beck and call of their radio to deal with incidents, and they will go to the more serious or the more kind of ongoing incidents and deal with that before moving on. And then the longer incidents, the kind of the things that take place over a longer period of time, will fall to our neighbourhood officers in this department to really kind of get the teeth into and engage with the community and look at ways that we can help and ways that we can tackle what's going on. And that's why we have operations such as Op-Edge, which is obviously in relation to knife crime, edge weapons. We have officers coming in specifically to target that, which has a lot of benefits. We've seen a lot of results from that. As I said, they go out to the public so they can really see what we're doing. The ops sector as well, the knife bins that we've got out in the community. We can only respond to what we're told about, and that is a huge thing. We need that give and take. We need to know about the incidents to be able to put things in place to deal with it and to help. It's kind of it needs to be that two-way conversation that we have with the public. That's how we work, basically.
Yeah. I mean, a question to our respected PCSO Edward. Edward, question here that we be told all the time. We've just been told again to tell the police, report to the police, but we're told as well that police do be out and about, like the PCSO. But this lady is asking, Fazila, she's asking. Unfortunately, in the last few months, I've not seen any police officer on a PCSO around her community anywhere from Deanville. Yes, she missed you.
I mean, it is possible that they've not seen me. I mean, I can honestly say I'm out and about in Deepdale every single time I'm on shift. Right. Whether that's I go around the birds, whether it's around to go around Homeslack or near the counties, I am out and about every single day. I'm on shift. Obviously, I can't be everywhere at once for everyone to notice me, but I'm always there in and around the area. And I think it links into what Sergeant and Lisa have said. Where I spend my time is where people tell us we're needed to go. So if we're told that there's a certain area that's having certain activities, that's where I'll spend most of my time and my patrols. So, I mean, I don't know where this lady's lives, but it may be the case that where they live, there's not particularly many issues or issues that are being reported to us. Whereas if we're being told that there's a lot of issues, somewhere else, that's where I'm more likely to spend my time, because that's where demand calls for.
Can I just add something to the back of that? Sorry. I've only been here since September last year, so not very long. And it was only ever going to be a temporary basis. And it's the only area, Deepdale's the only area in Preston that has an allocated officer to itself. I'm actually meant to cover the whole of the north, but I was told to focus more attention on Deepdale itself. And I think going forward from this, and I've had these conversations with Zafra as well, we need to identify key members of the community and give them a very realistic view of what the police can and can't do, and call them, I think it's a community champions was the idea that we came up with. And give people an understanding and kind of manage the expectation as well. So these people can then go back to obviously their smaller relevant areas or however it's set up and actually explain, because we also have to manage the expectation of people. We can't be everywhere at once. It's me and Eddie are on this team on our own, covering Deepdale. There are other people that do cover that area, but on, you know, our particular shift, it's myself and Eddie. Like I said, I do have to cover all of the north, but actually Deepdale has had 90% of my attention for the last 4 or 5 months. And people don't always see me every single day, and they don't see Eddie every single day, but I can vouch for the fact that Eddie is out and about every single day.
Well, we can vouch for Eddie. We've been with them, but obviously the question is, you know, the person hasn't. So I've been, Omar Khan just texted, and he's been having problems with the communication getting onto this program. But Omar, can you hear us? We can't see you, but can you hear us now?
Yeah, I've been listening for the last hour and a half.
Okay. Right. So Omar Khan, Preston United youth, you know, organizer, mentor, youth worker. So you've been listening, Omar. So if you want to come in and talk about the youth work and the need of youth work, extra youth work, what's your plans?
Well, I just want to say, behind the scenes, there's a lot going on, and you know, before the police leave and Brother Salim leaves, so anybody knows that we've been doing it this long. He are very fortunate to have his 2 young boys come to me at a young age, and when you mentor young people from a young age, they develop a relationship, and that's what we need to do. I'm very happy to hear that behind the scenes there's a lot of stuff going on. You know, over the last 2 weeks alone, it's accelerated at such a pace. But we're under these COVID restrictions. We are still out there on the streets. JJ has still taken a knife off someone after the death of this young man. Yes. Now, this is something that we do. We just get on with it in our daily lives. Me, Rebecca, we only had a meeting on Thursday. I went to see Byron on Thursday. We're just desperately trying to get together so we can get things moving. It's targeted. One of the councillors mentioned something about targeted. These 15 boys from Deepdale are targeted young men that we're talking to. And out of the 15, 10 are from Muslim homes. So we are being very targeted at them. We're working very hard, and I think Byron's the same as me. We don't want to criminalize young people. We want to educate them, give them the opportunity not to fall into the trap and get involved in drugs. We do also need the police to take their part and play their part and support us in what we're doing. And when the police are out, and I do see the PCSOs, I saw 2 female PCSOs out yesterday. We don't shake our hands and anything like that, but they're out on the regular. What Rebecca said, since Samad's murder, things behind the scenes are going at a fast rate. We just need a little bit of time. And if we can get more females, especially the mothers who are speaking about, me and Rebecca came up with a plan about Ramadan is about 80 days away. She's going to be out in the community, being out talking to mothers a lot more. Her agenda is not P&E. Don't just see her as P&E. We're trying to hopefully get her as an advocate for young people and get into these communities. And if, like somebody's offered, you've offered, I know Quwwatul Islam has offered, Jamia has offered, for us to go in and speak to the mums and talk to the mums about getting the message across. It is very, very important. I know Byron, we are setting up groups that will be coming to visit Byron at his place, where the mothers will be getting a speech of what Byron does. So there is a lot going on, Cameron, behind the scenes. On the other side, we are currently looking with the NYA, that's the National Youth Association, to train up. Their aim is to train up 10,000 community-led youth workers stroke mentors. I want to make sure that at least in Preston that we have a minimum of 100. If all the mosques work together, we can have dedicated youth workers in the mosques who are not there to do the daily routine of the mosque, but are there to talk to young people and connect with the young people. That funding is, we're talking to funders at the moment to bring that funding into Preston. It all went to Manchester, but we've been told that from April that we'll have access to that money. I'll be speaking to Byron. We already spoke to PNE about how we can work closely where their coaches can become youth workers. And there is a lot happening behind the scenes. We just need a little bit more patience. I know that I'm not a councillor, so I don't ask any votes. That's not me. What I am saying, there's a lot of things happening. This young man's murder has accelerated, and his murder is not going to be gone. You know, forget it. We can't say there's not going to be another one. We just cannot say that.
Yes. We will try our best. Thank you there, Omar. Just for Councillor Zafar, I know your colleagues have left us. Councillor Jazakallah, thank you for staying with us. I know everyone gave that time. And it is Sunday, and Man United and Liverpool are playing, which I didn't know before I arranged this event. So sorry about that if you're supporters. Still, there's a question here that I think it's a bit harsh one, but bear with me. It's saying that why is it our councillors and MPs always saying that it's the other party's fault and it's all about, you know, cuts, and they're not taking responsibility basically, and what are they planning to do? But obviously from this program, the questioner would ask, you must have learned that a lot is going on, and Councillor Siraz has highlighted that. So this is a respected elder, he said, you know, we feel guilty of giving you the vote.
Sorry, can I just put in, we've got a job to go to, so do you mind if we leave at this point, please?
No, as I said,
yeah.
It's
Speak to you soon.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks very much for the invite. See you later. Everyone.
Bye. Yeah, sorry, Siraz. Just a quick answer.
You want me to answer that one? Yeah, I was just saying, I said, I answered earlier. I said, look, I'm not trying to make political points. And yeah, it's easy to, you know, one part, they're do this and so on. There is opportunities to provide funding. I've never been one of those councillors who takes the answer that there's no funding. You know, I know if councils want to do something, they will find the money. So whilst since 2010, all councils have lost half their funding. Now that's a reality. That's not just, you know, whatever it is. That's just, you know, councils will tell you that. But at the same time, there is funding. And what happens is people decide where they want to prioritize. So if they feel this is an area where there should be a priority, then they will find funding for it. So I've said, there is fund, not from councils too much, but private councils, funding available. And if you know, there are a lot of grant givers, government grants, and so on. If you know how to sort of access or apply for some of these funding initiatives, there is that opportunity. What the councils need to do and can do more is just provide that support. And what I'm pleased to hear today is that, you know, PNE and Preston United, Byron, you know, everybody's working, and Salim Bhai, and, you know, everybody's working together a bit more, which is actually a lot more helpful as well, because you're not duplicating what people are doing. And if everybody has their resources and pools them together, you know, you can achieve a lot more than trying to do something on your own, which is the problem that we have. So from our side, from a council point of view, I'm a city council and there's a county council. There's two different areas. A lot of the young people's work is done by the county council. So, you know, unfortunately, I don't think Frank could make today, or has he joined the or something? So definitely you need the county council on side, the county council. But from a city council point of view, it's good that you've mentioned Alison. There's also Leslie, who's in the council as well. That's the city council that our officers are working with communities to try and help them and try and point you in the right direction. But I think that collectively, if we just continue on this journey of working together a lot more, I think we'll achieve a lot more. And like I said, you know, we have problems, and there's going to be problems in the future as well. But what we can try and do is try and work together to try and slow it down, or even sort of limit the sort of problems that we have. I'm quite confident. I think we've got a lot of good people on the ground, but we just need to just work a little bit more smarter, basically.
Oh, thank you, Councillor. Now going to a Preston Muslim Forum trustee, who formed one of the founding members of Preston Muslim Forum, worked in the community. They formed in 1982, so they've been working tirelessly over the years, facing many difficulties, challenges to set up, but today they have reached a level where they've been blessed with a beautiful building, just recently opened, and got facilities for youth work and community work. So our respected Haji Wali Patel, who has joined us, as I know you were waiting at the back for a while. Sorry about that, Haji Saab, but thank you for taking out time and joining us. So we'll just come straight to your question, is that what are the services Preston Muslim Forum providing during COVID, and in general, what are the facilities you are planning or are providing for the youth sector, youth side?
Assalamu alaikum, Karam Sahab. Thank you for inviting me for the discussion. I'm very pleased to participate in it. My name is Wali Patel, and I look after Preston Muslim Forum. I've been working there as a volunteer really for the last 10 years or so. Preston Muslim Forum is an organization which is formed a long time ago, and it's a charity in itself. And we are there simply as a dropping center, as a beginning, in terms of people in inner Preston, particularly and mainly BME community. The people drop in for any specific needs, whatever need that may be. We can help them out wherever we can. There's a lots of services that we provide. We're trying to specialize in things like giving, helping people in benefits, helping people in health, helping people in training, and advising people and guiding people in living everyday life. Over a period, we have been working in a lot of different areas, including working for young people. I mean, some time ago, there was a very popular youth service that the PMF used to provide. This was about a while ago, but I think a lot depends, as Siraj just said, it's all dependent on the funding and so on, and support from the local and main authorities, really. We now plan to, we got a new building now, and that building is quite good in terms of size and facilities. That building we plan to use after the sort of COVID lockdown. We do intend to start working in the youth service. We had a small project about a year or so ago for setting up some youth activities. We did run it as a pilot project. But we do plan to run it later on after the shutdown for youth activities. We have a nice big hall upstairs, which is open and can be used for a variety of activities, and particularly for youth service. It is also our intention to take over the land right next to our building, which is almost a play area, really. And that play area can be developed into working for, five-a-side football or any of those kind of things. So this is something we hope to achieve in near future. We have a fair bit of plan for it as well. So I think in terms of helping particularly young people, because obviously today's discussion is more targeted for young people, we have a lot of ambitions and a lot of plans and a lot of sort of intention to help our young people so that they don't get involved in any antisocial activities and so on. So we are obviously open for that suggestion. We have some funding as well to make some start on it. A lot depends on the actual help from other organizations to use our services and ensure that we can help out as a joined up member of the community. So that's what we are here for. Obviously, we will keep in contact. Well, once we start seeing things out. At the moment, we're so frustrated with this lockdown that we're unable to really reach out to people. We also, I mean, that's for the young people, but I mean, we also run for old people, sing services like coffee morning. We also plan to start luncheon clubs and so on. So our future is quite bright. We intend to really grow ourselves into servicing people as best as we can. And it's something we've been doing it for a long time. We're publishing only more so in future, and that's our plan. But by all means, you can come and use our services once, and we will publicize it once we start delivering these services. So that's what we are here for.
Yeah, I mean, I was speaking to one of your colleagues, and they were saying that they're launching is a youth work training program. Ayub, I think, was mentioning.
Ayub, yes.
Yeah.
It's something which we plan to do. We are so frustrated at the moment. We can't really do very much at all. And it's something we have some funding available as well in order to make some start on it. And once we get a clearance of the shutdown or lockdown rather, we intend to start something. And it's something we plan to grow. Well, up until now, we've been restricted in terms of where the facilities that we didn't have and also the funding. Now, it's like chicken and egg situation. You don't have funding, you don't have facility, you can't start one without the other and so on. But at the moment, the facilities is there, we will obviously try and raise funding. And hopefully we'll grow that way. It is our plan and intention. We need support from everybody, including all the other organizations and people within the communities.
Oh, thank you very much, Haji Saab. Another question, because we've taken a lot of time off Omar Khan. At this time, Omar wasn't visual, so I thought he was just come on late. Omar, are you still there? I think, Byron, you might be able to just answer this question. Basically, there's a feel that, your project, or, like everyone's focusing in their own little area, and they feel that Byron is doing some fantastic work. And, with your youth club, I can understand that, your services are exhausted. You can't offer it to everyone. But it seems in your videos and everything like that mainly who are accessing your services are the white community. Have you had any barriers to basically, or is there any barriers which you feel that it's quite hard to interact with the Asian youth or the black youth or different communities like the Kurdish, because that's a big, community which has moved to Preston, Romanian. This is what the person is asking, that all youth workers, are they working with this group as well, like the minority in Preston?
Yeah, no, well, again, like the screening process that I went through lasted, I wasn't joking when I said it, around 4 to 4, maybe 5 hours, something like that, and we was fully booked. We've got 2 young children from the Deepdale community and from the mosque community that come still to this day. They're loving it. We even provide them with specific tailor-made meals when we have the healthy option or the treat that they get on a Saturday. So we cater for them. I just truly believe that it may, obviously there's an imbalance. For example, we've got no females now. We're all predominantly males, but one of our trainers is a female. I think the issue is it was just because the resources I put out to the community, and within 4 or 5 hours there was none left. That I truly believe that was the only issue. I've still got people from different backgrounds, different learning difficulties, gang culture, knife culture, all on this phone, families wanting to join, but I can't. Hence why the goal is, forget COVID-19, but the goal is I honestly think we could probably have this by the end of the year, if not next year, working with Rebecca, working with Omar. We can have something which is so big. We've got the right amount of funding. We can advertise it in the right way. And we then, don't forget, we can have a much greater screening process where we can handpick who needs the help more, what areas, how many people can help from that area, what religion, what ethnic background they come from. But again, as I said, the screening process went through me within 13 days and then 4 hours of choosing the children. So I think that's just an imbalance because of the time scale that we had.
Haji Wali Sahab, there's another question here that it's the same content that basically some people feel that PMF is just working with the Quwwatul Islam Mosque because it's near to it. Just because of being near to it, and I think they feel that, are you working with the other mosques? I don't
really think we have any issues about working with any mosque. Whoever participate with us, we'll share with them. Quwwat obviously is the nearest to us. He's also one of the big one in the area, so therefore there's a tendency of sharing some of the issues or services with them. I don't really think we have any issues about any working with any mosque. We can work with. Actually, as I said before, Preston Muslim Forum really is not just a faith organization for Muslims. It's there for everybody.
Yes.
So we have no policies in terms of who to work with. We work with anybody who is in public service. Even the young man who just spoke. I mean, I'm sure if he knew about us and come and join us in some way, we can do some joint activities as well. There is no limit to who we work with. Naturally, right next door to you, it's also one of the very big areas. So that tendency will be there, but we will work with anyone. And if for example, any mosque in inner Preston, particularly inner Preston, but it can be outside Preston, outside inner Preston as well. If anybody wants to use our services or use our centers for any issues or something, by all means, we are welcome to. We'll work with them. There's no limit there.
Sorry to interrupt. Preston Muslim Forum generally obviously works with anyone. It says Pakistanis, Kurdish, Eastern European, all is welcome to seek benefit advice and other advice. Obviously, there are restrictions with the COVID and stuff like that. Make appointments, but there's still. Ayub Bhai has sent a message that obviously the office is still running. You could confirm that as well. So, I mean, that sense, I mean, they say somebody asked a question, do you have management members representing other community members, such as Pakistanis or Kurdish or any other? I don't know how big is your management group. What do you say to that?
We have obviously charity, and therefore we work with our normal constitution, and that's how we appoint people and so on. But in terms of the diversity of our services, we have a Bangladeshi person who is working for us, who speaks in Bangladeshi, and also is very good at Gujarati. We have a Shaukat, obviously, he's of Pakistan origin, because Ayub himself is a Gujarati origin, and then myself and others. But I don't really think there is an issue that we can serve anybody with any language of any origin for that matter. We'll entertain them.
Yeah, all volunteers.
Services is a service. It's not on the faith or any Muslim organization. It's a faith. It's not faith organization. It's for everybody. We recently, particularly the last several years now, I think, East Europeans are the biggest user of ourselves. So they come here for a variety of jobs issues and so on, or benefit issues. We have now a lot of Arabs and refugees coming from sub-Saharan Africans and so on. So we help out anybody. Our place is open for everybody. It doesn't have to be any discrimination at all. So we work with everybody really, and they're all welcome. But I think in the issue here is we need to work jointly. Like Shiraz says, we don't want individually competing with each other. We want to work jointly so we can do some bigger project and so on as well. So that is a key thing that we need to be working on.
Cameron, can I come in there? Do you mind?
Yeah, please, if you can. I was just going to continue anyway, Rebecca.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to reiterate kind of the both points there. I think as a community and as a city, we need to appreciate that one size doesn't fit all as well. You know, and the terminology BAME community infuriates me, because within that there are so many different religions, cultures, backgrounds, ethnicities. And I think, you know, the Pakistani community have got different to what the Indian community have got going on. The Bangladeshi community is struggling with different things than the African community, the Jamaican community. You know, there are all these different, you know, even within the white British community, there are so many different things that are probably going on in Plungington that aren't going on in Deepdale. And one size does not fit all. And as a community organisation that's trying to cater for everything and try and take on everything, and, you know, sometimes take on the world a little bit too much, everything has so much more planning underneath it. So when Byron came in to do one of my talks that was with a predominantly business studies class, so it was 90% BAME, Pakistani background, and within that, I had to do an awful lot more risk assessing than what I necessarily would have done for your average white British group. And when, you know, we're currently working with the Romanian family, as you mentioned, and our kind of aim is to work with more of the Romanian families within Deepdale. If Byron was to come in and speak to those, you know, we're working with a translator and interpreter. So we would need to ensure that Byron can then come in for the interpreter to repeat everything that is being said. And again, that goes for the Polish community and any kind of Eastern European group. And I just think it's just worth remembering that one size does not fit all. We could have a group of 10 Muslim young men, and every single one of them have something different that is bothering them at that moment in time, and something different that is affecting their life. And, you know, it may be that they're not going to mosque, it may be that they're going to mosque too much and they're not getting a chance to do something else. There's so much going on, and everything that we do, and, you know, to reiterate, Byron, Omar, Irfan, yourself, Cameron, everything that we're doing as a community is we're trying to shape it so that the community benefits as much as it can from it. So sometimes it, you know, it may look like we're taking a step back or that we're taking a little bit longer, but it is in order to ensure that everything that we're delivering is at utmost quality. Everything that we're delivering is going to get the outcomes that we've set up. And, you know, there's no better way of putting it, that, you know, one size does not fit all, particularly in a city that is as diverse and dynamic as Preston.
Yeah, I think the thing here is where we fit in as an organization is this. Well, ordinary people, particularly inner Preston, which I experience, or BME community particularly, or somebody who's coming from abroad, it doesn't have to be BME community in terms of East Europe and so on. What tends to happen, that they themselves find very difficult to communicate and familiarize themselves with the services provided by mainstream authorities like town hall or county hall or health service and so on. Where we fit in, they come in, because some women have come to us and say, well, what they can talk, they're able to talk to their milkman, for example, but they can't talk to a town hall officer in front of a desk. And when they're asking some technical and serious question, they can't communicate. This is where we all fit in. They come in here, and at least we facilitate their communication and help them out and guide them what to do, where to go, or how to communicate, and what information to provide, and so on. This is where it's more we are best at our services. When people, say for example, we went here and somebody wanted to fill up a form, which is a benefit form, which may take up to 2 hours. They will struggle to go into a town hall or a local authorities office and so on, and try and go through that process, because this is an issue of communication. And this is where we all fit in. And this is why we are most needed in that sort of situation. Otherwise, people will miss out the services and what they're entitled to. And this is why we should really encourage these sort of organizations in order to be able to really help people out.
Yeah, so I mean, PMF does work with you know, single mothers and other you know, basically vulnerable groups of people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, and you know, it's of PNE. I know PNE's even before Rebecca joined PNE, they were working with you know, Moore Park and other schools. Basically, before the lockdown, I was in a few meetings where. You know, the police was reassuring the community that we're doing spot checks in Moore Park, and they've taken knives off the, you know, the park, you know, which was stashed by children or youth or whatever, basically, and then in the alleyways are surrounding Fulwood School and things like that. So obviously everyone is doing the work, but I think what the communities getting a lot of frustration. All communities, whether they're Asians, white, black, whatever community you're from, everyone's getting a bit frustrated because I think the information doesn't get to them, and that's the problem. And this is why what we've suggested to Omar and to other service providers like Ayub, Preston Muslim Forum, and Byron, to do a contact sheet, contact information sheet. So where you can get this information, like somebody saying, how can I join Byron's waiting list, for example? How can I find out about Rebecca's, basically football, walking football? I know before the lockdown, I don't know if you were aware, I think this was before your time, Rebecca, they were doing walking football for elders, and they can play football walking and stuff like that. So there were activities, for ladies as well, and I think some you led as well. So, everyone is doing something, and this is the message going out today to all our listeners, that everyone is doing something. The councils are trying their best. The small organizations like Preston Muslim Forum, Byron, the JJ Effect, the PNE, all the councillors, they are all still working in the background. And the police, obviously, we are very lucky to have a police in this country, which we have. I think we have one of the best police force in the world. So they are trying their bit as well. There are gaps, but we need to obviously support them as well to remove them gaps and try to understand as well the time we're in as well. It's a difficult time. So just to conclude there, I would just ask just a minute each from yourselves to just give the final advice to the community who are listening and your message on this crime, knife crime and youth crime in general. So we start with Steve.
I'll go. Yeah, I think this is really, really good. I think we have started the multi-agency dialogue, and I think what this has shown is that I think on a regular basis we all need to just come together and just have the discussion to see what everybody's doing and where probably the gaps are. So I think there's nothing worse than not talking to one another. And as I said, I think it's a really good way that I think even if it's every few months, if we can just get all the relevant partners together and just have a discussion like today, that'd be really good.
Thank you, Councillor. Moving on to Byron, if you can conclude with some advice.
Yeah. Mine's a bit different, really. I wanted to say this before, but I just want everyone to realise how valuable the police are. I've been out on patrol with police officers, female with black eyes, and when I say black eyes, I mean sometimes both eyes fully black. And I've said, "What's happened there?" And they've been assaulted. I work with police officers that get spat at now to spread COVID. I've heard of things like that going on. They basically go to their job every day and get attacked. I think if people watching this really understood how many people there actually are, not just in England, but just in Preston alone, which is approximately close to 330,000 people.
Yeah.
And you married that up to the amount of police officers we've got getting assaulted, battered, just in a daily job, I think people would really understand it a little bit more. It's like, if you think that all police are bad, that's like, it just makes no sense, because there's good doctors, there's bad doctors, there's good practitioners, there's bad practitioners, there's good school teachers, there's bad school teachers, but not all police officers are bad or racist. It's individuals that are bad and racist, and by judging one person and then targeting everyone associated with that, let's say, culture, race, or job description, i.e. the police, by deeming them all racist or doing a bad job is just not right. It's just not right. It's individuals that make mistakes and do bad things. And the last thing I'll say,
they are a front line.
Yeah, exactly. And the last thing I'll say is that, as well, like I said to Omar, is that the JJ Effect is ready and available throughout any community. it just takes to contact me, whether that's in mosques or anything, anytime. I'm there. I'm about protecting everyone, no matter, you know what I mean. It's about protecting everyone, not just individuals.
Within weeks, Baidar, I didn't know you. Within weeks, we've seen your commitment, and I think everyone wants a bit of piece of you. So get your, you'll be very busy.
I wasn't joking, but I'm doing 7 days a week now. I need to either clone myself or be able to employ some more people, which I hope will be the next thing.
You will build a team together. Rebecca, would you like to add something there and concluding words?
Yeah, I think I've kind of touched upon everything that I wanted to touch upon. Obviously, I'm immensely grateful to be invited to platforms such as this to be able to talk about what we're doing, but also to be part of the team. And I just think I've worked in a number of organisations, and I've done this job for a very long time at different football clubs and different venues. And I just think for the first time ever, I'm so genuinely humbled by the people who I get to share meetings with. And I just think it's telling the community, trust us, trust that we are in a position now where we can make a difference. Everyone who I sit around a table with at a meeting, the community safety partnership, there's been times in the past for previous organisations where I've thought, flipping heck, here we go again. They're going to say this, and then next week it'll be a different thing. And you'll have seen yourself, Cameron, a number of organisations that come into the community, promise the world, get the money, and then disappear. Yeah, and I just think that the community need to really trust that we are a different breed this time. The people that are sat around the tables genuinely want to make a difference. We've been there, done that, got wardrobes full of T-shirts, and every single one of us has got something different to bring to the table, and a different experience. We come from all walks of life ourselves. We weren't fed with a silver spoon, and we're not people that have just kind of popped up and done this job willy-nilly. We've got the experience. We're all old school youth workers. We want our young people to be affected by the things that are happening around them. Byron's talk is so hard-hitting that the majority of my young people leave in tears. Some people think, is that appropriate? I think, yes, it is. We need to be real with these young people. We need to stop patronising them, because the world is a scary place at the moment. And until we get their resilience and their lifestyle ready to reflect what is happening around them, we are going to struggle, and that's what we're intending to do. And I think it's a genuine case of watch this space, because we are working together, we're not duplicating, we're doing something so that we're all on one team. And I think it's really, really powerful, and I understand the community's frustrations, because I would feel it myself as a member of the community. But I do think when I'm looking from the other side, we are much further than we've been in a very long time. And I think this is genuinely the year that we can make a difference.
Oh, definitely. And we can reassure the community that the work is carrying on, even despite the difficulties of COVID. You will see more youth work, you will see community work, and you will see, hopefully, future youth clubs as well. Finally, I come to Haji Wali. If you can just finish off with some words of advice as well.
No, I think what we say so far is quite. I agree with everything that they've said. I think sometimes people always criticize that we're always competing with each other. We are not really competing there, but the thing is, the need is so high that we need more of us, actually, to be honest, in the community, because we are, particularly the part of this country that we live in. It's a deprived area of Preston, particularly North Preston, North England. It is very weak in financially and other economic terms as well. So we suffer from problems. So I don't think we should be really complaining with each other. We are all competing. There's a need for every one of us. So I think that's one thing. But the other thing is, as long as we work together and try and share our services to the extent and learn from each other, that's probably the best way to go forward, really. I'm sure by meeting like this today and knowing people, we'll be able to really help each other out and try and sort of avoid duplication, but at the same time advance our services and therefore help people, everybody in that respect. The need is great at the moment and is growing. I mean, this benefit issues, certainly in the last 6 months, it's doubled from what we've been doing. And we obviously don't complain about it, but obviously there's always limited resources. Everybody suffers from that. But hopefully we will get through it. Definitely. Our future, particularly the Preston Muslim Forum future, is better than what we've ever been for the last some number of years, simply because we have now a bigger facility and our resources are such that we can meet lots of things that people need. So I'm hoping that we have a good future for servicing people, particularly young people as well, and older people with a lot of ambition, a lot of plans. By all means, come to us. If you need anything particular that we can help out, we'll do it. Everybody's welcome that way.
Thank you very much for everyone. Just there was one question left, which it was for our respected scholar of Islam, Sheikh Salim, but I can just touch on it because I've had experience of teaching. I was his deputy head teacher at the Iqra Education Center with Sheikh Salim, and I've worked in the community as well. Many people know me from all backgrounds. And basically the question was that, the mothers or the parents are getting blamed all the time, and, parents need to do more. And everyone can give you an answer on that. But just on that Islamic concept, and I think it works with the community concept as well, that basically we all do our bit, because the question was this, that the children are at school for 4 or 5 hours, almost 10 years of their life, of their young life, 11 years, they'll go to school from nursery to all the way year 11, then college, and then so forth. And basically then thereafter, they go to the mosque with those who are in the Muslim community from 5 to 7, the Islamic education system. So what happens is that the parent is asking that all this time is given to these organizations, educational organizations. So why is the blame come on to the parents? It's not, no one is blaming nobody. I think that's what I've taken from these talks. Everyone's talking about delivering and united together and communicating the services out there. It's not, no one's blaming the parents. Here, look, in Islam, the Holy Quran announces that save your children. Save your children from destruction. So when the scholars explain that, is that say, give them good education, make them aware of what is out there, the evils out there. Like Rebecca said, that some people might say it's a bit shocking what Byron says. No, that's the truth out there. So they need to be aware of that. The harms of drugs, all this is as parents, our duty as parents to educate them. And these schools and everything else and all the service providers who came on this platform today, they are all there as service providers to help you. So ultimately, it is the parents. No one is blaming the parents, but it's our basically duty to give them a good upbringing. However, that doesn't mean if things fail and that you are failed. No one's saying you are failed. That means that, that person, like Rebecca said, everyone's an individual, right? So everyone's got different needs. And so basically that individual's needs or sport, it needs extending. That's all it needs. So in Islam, in any community, the parents is the first and the foremost school of teaching children what's right and wrong. And then all these other schools and high schools and colleges and youth services and community services, they are all just like extra service advisors. So take that advice, expose your children to good and tell them about what's the bad out there as well, so they can counter it, and tell them where they can get help. If some child's getting abused, tell them about the NSPCA. Tell them about, if someone is having problem with drugs, if you can't come to me, go and see your school teacher or counselor in the school. So that's what the duty of a parent is in summary. So we try our best, and all these service providers are there for us. Let's utilize them. Let's support them. Let's stand with them. Ask the difficult questions. But the key thing is we do not discourage them. We do not dishearten them. And we do not say, oh, they're all about money funding, and they're just about talk. No, if we say one life, we've done our bit. It's like the Holy Quran announces that you save one life. It's like saving humanity. It did not say about Muslim life. It said any life. Any life, you save any life, it is as if you have saved humanity And if you have killed a life or taken a life, it is as if you have killed humanity, because feuds will happen, gang fights will happen, even wars take place between countries because of that one initial step. So let's try to refrain from that and try to help save lives and come together as a community, not just against crime, knife crime, but against all crime. So once again, thank you very much, Byron. Thanks a lot for being with us since 5 o'clock, and Councillor Zafar as well, and Rebecca. Thank you very much, Haysam, and all the guests.
Pleasure. Pleasure as always.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Everyone
See you soon.
Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz.